This is Racing Live on TalkSport 2 with Lee McKenzie and Louis Stewart today. Well, it's National Racehorse Week when we celebrate the everlasting contribution to the sporting world of our lovely equine friends. And that means a busy few days for Racing to School. Now, as you probably know, they are the organisation that teaches young students from local schools about the sport of horse racing from an academic angle, of course. Chief Executive of Racing to School, John Blake, joins us now from Doncaster on the first day of the St Leger Festival. Good afternoon to you, John.
Hello, Lee. Great to speak to you.
Well, Racing to School operates all year round, of course, and I've seen the school children at the racecourses in their jockey gear being shown round and linking things to the national curriculum. We'll talk about that a bit later on. But this being National Racehorse Week is a very special week for you too, isn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely. We've been, very much involved with it for its 3 years now. It obviously started in 2019. And this is the third renewal of that. But it's great that we are working with colleagues right around the country and training yards. So instead of taking the children as we would do to race days, we've been kindly invited in by a large number of trainers to come and see them. So the children, a great way to start the new term, of course, is to put on the silks and come and see some activity at trainers' yards. So we've been to the Kubler's yard earlier this week. We're off to Mark Patterson's yard at Epsom tomorrow before racing, and then the children go over to see the race meeting as well. We have a warm welcome coming up from Rebecca Menzies, Donna McCain, Jimmy Moffat and Hugo Palmer, within and outside of this week as well. So it's really great. And I think that, the trainers deserve huge praise for getting stuck in again in bigger numbers this year. So many of them have said yes to schools, but also the wider community events that they've been doing as well with organisations like Blue Light Tickets and Mind Charity Tickets for Troops, etc. So many people have got involved, and as part of that, as you say, at Doncaster today, and the children are learning all about the near 250-year history of the oldest classic, of course, and they're all excited about the King's Horse running on Saturday. So we have 60 pupils from the local primary school, Willow Primary School, and they get to see, I think Scott Dixon's bringing a horse shortly, so they'll get to see a horse up close and personal, and former rider Paige Fuller, who your listeners may remember, she's talking them through their paces in the weighing room as well. So a really great day today, and great of Doncaster to sort of open up their doors to us, and obviously it's such a busy and important week for them.
It is obviously a lot of fun for the students who take part in this, but there is a learning side to this as well, as you say, linking it with the school curriculum. Now there are obvious things like maths, for example, measuring and weighing things. There are things like jockeys, for example, measuring the fences at a steeplechase or hurdle track, and I suppose biology comes into it. But you just mentioned history there as well, the history of the St Leger. So it is something that they'll go back to school with at the end of the day, having learned something. It's not just a really good day off double chemistry, is it?
Well, it's definitely that, but no, you're absolutely right, Lee. It's absolutely right, and that is important because it's important the sport is giving back to its community, and we need to make it relevant and valuable for those children and their teachers and their school. We're lucky to have a 100% return rate in terms of teachers who want to come and work with a team again, which is wonderful, and we're really privileged for that. And that is because, as you say, it is aligned to the school curriculum. It is fun, it is different, it is outdoor learning, it is healthy. I always bang on about the fact that it's fresh air, no mobile phones are allowed, they get exercise, they're working as a team together. They've got that sort of freedom of a VIP freedom of the racecourse, and they've got full access to all the areas today, which is wonderful. But it is important that when they go back, as you say, they often take their workbooks that we give them back into the classroom, especially the primary school children, which we've got today, year 6, because then they can talk about designing a jockey's nutritional meal, for example, or designing silks, or taking some of that maths they've learned about measuring the parade ring, the perimeter of the parade ring, for example. So it really is important that we support and enhance their learning, but at the same time, against the backdrop and through the wonderful window of horse racing, because places like Doncaster and all our 59, 60 racecourses they're the public's racecourses, aren't they? It doesn't matter who owns them. They are public access, and we want young people to come back and think that big green space at the end of the road or not far from their school is as much for them as children who might sort of come through the ranks through riding or pony club or whatever it might be, that everyone is welcome. I think that's one of the the real objectives of the program, as well as enhancing the education, is to make racing relevant to them. It's a tough gig at times because we're not a participation sport in the easy way that football and rugby and cricket is. You don't play horse racing at lunchtime in school as you can with all the other sports. And I think it's important that we have to do things differently. We have to be clever and meet children in a different way and make it interesting and relevant and exciting and memorable. So when children say that was the best day of my life, I often joke that I really hope it wasn't in terms of their young lives. But how wonderful it is to hear that, that they've seen a horse probably for the first time, most of them. They've been racing, certainly 70% of them for the first time, and so these are indelible memories for them, I hope, and memories that we want them to carry on. We want these 10, 11-year-olds to be coming back when they're, 21, 31, and on it goes, and Doncaster to be a place that they enjoy, and they can talk about the 246 years of history of the same ledger because they learned it here today,
So there's something in it for them, but there's also something in it potentially for horse racing as well, because otherwise the racegoers of the future may not actually find that step that they need into horse racing. As you say, it is a bit more mysterious than say football is, for example, where all the kids play it during their hours off, whether it be during school hours or in the park at the weekend. So this is kind of for a lot of them a first step to being hooked on horse racing for life, perhaps.
Well, I think so and hope so. I mean, the sport it requires a bit of inquisitiveness, doesn't it? If you want to learn more about racing, you've got to be you've got to go out there and learn a bit about it. Between jumps and flats, form changes every 15 minutes. If you really want to get into it, it does require, a little bit of emotional commitment, if you like, as marketeers would say. But the way to get into that is that light bulb moment. Think, I really like this. I like the sight, the sound, the noise, the smell of it, that the sensory experience of racing should never be undervalued, especially for young people. And the other issue, Lee, and you're right, is also employment. And let's not forget, the challenge that we have, across the sport in bringing people in. There's plenty of vacancies in yards and other roles as well. And it doesn't mean you have to be the next Frankie Dettori to come into the sport. There's loads of different jobs, all number of jobs. I'm at Doncaster today, and all the hospitality staff are around me, and they're all beavering away, and in the environment of a great racecourse. And so there's so many opportunities for training, and then to go on and forge a career in the sport. But it starts, if you like, with that initial love affair, and I think that's where hopefully Racing to School and our wider community work with Racing Together plays a part in that.
Because it is something that's a bit different from a lot of things that many families would be involved with, and indeed schools as well. What sort of reaction do you get when you ring up a school? Do you local to the racetrack normally, for example, or local to a stable this week, and say we'd like to take a couple of dozen young students around to see the facility? So particularly with the link with betting, do you sometimes get a bit of a reaction saying, "Oh, I don't really think that's our sort of thing," or do you have to explain exactly what you do?
Well, that's an excellent question, Lee, because, I've had the privilege to do this job for now 6-7 years, and I guess coming into it, I thought I'd be confronted with that on a fairly regular basis. I can absolutely tell you, I've never been confronted with that at all. But it doesn't mean I haven't got the answer. I'm always ready for it. But no, the reality is that schools come to us, and that sounds a bit conceited. It's not meant to be conceited at all. But, we have a bit of a waiting list for schools. And, you often get, and I've said it before, teachers that sort of move schools, as they often do. And they, if you like, they take us with them. So we often get emails saying, I'm a maths teacher at St. Mary's now. I used to be down the road at a different school, but we had a day with you. Could I introduce my new school to you? So we don't really, we never struggle for business in the nicest sense. The program is free to access, courtesy of the great funding we get from the Levy Board and lots of our other supporters. I can't name them all, but huge thanks to them that keep us going, because we are a charity. But we do make it, free to those schools and equine colleges we work with. And that's really important, because it's so hard to get young people out now on school trips. And, we all know that the challenges of the current economy, etc. So, it is popular, but specifically on the issue of betting or even horse welfare. I mean, I tell we talk as a team with my colleagues, and I said, look, you always be on the front foot with these things. We're not ashamed of the relationships we have with betting. It is inextricably linked, as we all know. We just need to be honest and upfront. You don't lie to children. That's a waste of time, because they see right through it. And we should be positive about that, because if we're not having positive conversations with them about the relationship, if you like, with the sport and gambling, who else is having those conversations? They won't be coming from our perspective. They'll be, someone else will be filling that vacuum for them. So much better they get the information in a positive way, in a safe way, and understand, like with all things in life, there are dangers to things, and that they need to take a responsible attitude to it. But it's not part of the program or the curriculum. They often ask when they see the bookmakers setting up, etc. But it's something that we're very positive about, and it's never been a barrier to entry. Really, I've never had any school ring up to say that we can't possibly do this because of racing's linked with betting, or indeed this sort of myth that everyone thinks it's all about getting drunk either. We never hear any of that. So, and that's encouraging. I'm not saying, we don't have our issues with some of those things. Of course, we're not, we have to be open-minded about these things and open-eyed about it. But the reality is that, young people are there to sort of experience what we can offer. As I said, they'll have a horse coming, they'll meet a horse this afternoon. We've got an equisizer where they can be taught how to be jockeys as well. We have VR, virtual reality headsets, where they can be Holly Doyle in a 7-furlong race at Newbury. So there's so much fun and excitement. Who needs to worry about the other things, and I think, carers and teachers and parents can see that and see the buzz that the children get when they leave us after the day.